These are the Mizuno Alpha 2 Elite AG, which in my opinion are one of the best value AG cleats on the market, retailing for just $140 US. That being said, these probably won't be for everyone, and in this video I'll let you know what I like and dislike about these, what's different from these compared to the Alpha 1s, and whether or not you should pick up a pair. Mizuno has made a few changes to the upper for the newest Alpha Elite, but has kept the same overall structure. They have a very thin textured synthetic material that's quite similar to the previous Alpha model. It does feel just a little bit more grippy to me and a little bit softer. I've seen some other reviews say they feel stiffer and thicker than the last model, but I'd say it's quite the opposite in my experience, and on feet and visually, the Alpha 1s look thicker. These break in super quickly. I usually don't do or recommend this, but I wore these straight out of the box for the full 90 and really didn't have any issues. It only really took that one session for the upper to get even softer, and the midfoot has molded to my foot very nicely. I think this is easily one of the best synthetic uppers on the market right now. However, there is one major issue in my opinion. The Alpha 1s had this fairly rough zero glide lining throughout the heel as well as the insole to help prevent slipping. There's the insole. But for some reason for the Alpha 2s, Mizuno extended this all the way down throughout the entire inside of the upper, all the way to the toes. It's a little bit hard to see, but here is the inside of the Alpha 1s. You can see where the zero glide is and the normal part of the upper. And then here is the Alpha 2s, and it goes all the way down to the end. This edition of the Zero Glide makes it really difficult to get them on feet, but also this can rub and cause blisters along the sides or even the top of the toes. This is a really bizarre choice from Mizuno in my opinion because the Alphas already had great lockdown, and it's not going to do anything to improve the lockdown by adding the Zero Glide to the forefoot. It would be like having grip socks with the grip pads on top of your toes. And any repetitive rubbing there is going to be irritating and potentially cause blisters. Now let's get back to some of the positives with these. The touch on the ball is fantastic and the grip is pretty much perfect for dry conditions. I do think they're a little bit more slick than I would like for wet conditions, but the texture still does help with that. Dribbling, passing, and especially shooting feels great with these, which I can't say is the case for all speed boots. I went down a half size with these to a US size 8, which is the same as the previous edition. I wouldn't say they are particularly wide though, so if you do have wide feet, consider going true to size. While the sizing is more or less the same, the overall fit has changed. The original Alphas fit my foot nearly perfectly apart from this little gap around the ankle, but the runner's loop holes helped with this and it wasn't really an issue for me. They have pretty much eliminated that gap with the Alpha 2s though, and the fit, lockdown, and padding throughout the heel is excellent. I don't think I've had any blisters here. But the biggest fit change is in the toes. These have a lot more height and volume in the toe box and feel a tiny bit shorter to me. Unfortunately, this means there's this dead space, especially towards the outer toes, and the touch doesn't feel quite as clean as it could. This also increases that rubbing on top of the toes, and the upper kind of bunches up. I think the fit change is negative on the whole, and I hope this is something they change again on the next release. The tongue is super thin and feels a bit cheap to me. It kind of looks like a piece of laminated paper. The tongue on the Alpha 1 is more padded and feels a bit more premium in my opinion. That said, it doesn't bother me at all while playing. The lacing runs really deep, which helps a lot with the lockdown, but these may have some of the worst laces I've ever used. They're like a weird cotton material and are pretty difficult to loosen and tighten. It sounds like they're the same for the Made in Japan version, which is a bit disappointing when you're spending that much money, especially when it would be such a cheap fix. I do think this is one of the better AG stud patterns on the market, and it reminds me a bit of some of the older Nike AG models. It's super flexible through the forefoot, and then it has moderate stiffness throughout the midfoot. It feels pretty good overall to me, but I wouldn't mind a little bit more stiffness in the forefoot. It just bends super easily, It does sound like they've widened the studs a bit with the more recent release, and they have added an external heel counter as well. As far as durability goes, I've been wearing this pair for about 6 months now, exclusively on AG, and there's absolutely zero sole separation or durability issues. I know that's a huge issue with a lot of the cleats on AG, so that's really nice to see from the alphas. These feel pretty light to me, so let's see how they stack up to some of the other speed boots. Okay, so the AG alphas weigh 6.77 ounces. And then compare that to the Alpha 1s, which are 6.7 ounces as well. Superflies, 6.6 ounces. F50s, 6.2. And the Puma Ultras, 6.8. So all relatively close. They're right in that 6.5 to 7 ballpark. Overall, I've been very pleased with these. They've been my main pair of AG cleats for the last 6 months or so. I think they're the best AG cleats for the price right now, and I'm not entirely sure why they're $40 cheaper than the FG version, but I'm not complaining. I do really like these, and I hope this review didn't sound too negative. I just feel like they've gone backwards in a few ways from the previous model. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about these, and if you've tried them out, let me know what you think.